Rebellion is often inseparable from stories when it comes to stories of societies, past, present, and future. Oxford Languages defines rebellion as the act or process of resisting authority, control, or convention. This is evident through years and years of literature such as Lord of the Flies, 1984, and 𝓑𝓮𝓵𝓭𝓼, or Flowers of Evil in English. Due to rebellion and a sort of negative/positive perversion, we become more aware of our motivations as humans through times of change. The Crucible and 𝓑𝓮𝓵𝓭𝓼 are often perpendicular when it comes to the main two themes of rebellion and contradictive perversion. Again, these two texts are perpendicular in their themes, but also in how they tell their stories. Arthur Miller's The Crucible was written by him as a reflection of his world of mass hysteria, a vindictive society, and a suspicion over and under each dark corner. Miller's play is a dramatized version of the Salem witch trials, which every character can be argued to be the hero or the villain of the play, but it is very evident that there is a doom looming over Salem. 𝓑𝓭𝓼, or Flowers of Evil, written and illustrated by Oshimi Suzo, is a psychological thriller manga that follows a middle school student named Kasuga who is forced into a contract where he is forced to strip away the skin and reveal the person I really am, by school tough girl Nakamura, after she reveals that she knows about his stalking of Puraseki. The series follows the events and aftermath of this contract. These two stories range in differences, sure. However, the main themes are still present and a central part of both stories, which show parallels in characters and motivations, relationships, and both rebellion and negative and positive perversion. Often used to show and represent how characters' motivations change and in return how the town changes from a vindictive town that airs their private troubles to a town that is objectively tighter knit than ever before. Towards the end of The Crucible, the world changes as the characters' motivations change and solidify from submission to this sort of rebellion in strong ways of helping others, accepting what others want, along with accepting guilt, which seems to reflect in the town and ending of the play, as the town is viewed as barren and greatly contentious, as seen through the quote of "Many cows wander on the high roads." This use of juxtaposition and almost nature's fallacy seem to betray how the town has really turned into a lawless land, which is ironic for obvious reasons. And not only are the rich people suffering, but the citizens sit starving as the town's trials continue. From a once pristine town, it has turned into a barren ghost town of its former self. John arguably has one of the biggest changes of character and motivations during the last act, from being angry and lecherous to condemning himself to jail for his family to protect and repent for his friends and family. As he sits in the jail, the people perceive him like some great bird, which can be used as a metaphor for eternity and freedom. Each way, it's still a pretty contentious thing, I think. His motivations greatly change from the selfish nature of an angry man to someone more contempt and incapable of accepting he was to blame for his affair. But now, he has become all too shameful for his actions and will not forgive himself of his actions. Which can't be better summed up by a quote by Elizabeth. "John, it come to naught that I should forgive you, if you'll not forgive yourself." Elizabeth is all too aware of the fact that John is truly ashamed of his actions, but even if she were to accept his apology, he couldn't accept it himself. John turned into a man of shame and enduring love for his wife and family. Hale's motivations and personality completely change from the beginning to the end as he becomes less naive and more heroic in ways, in how he defends the town and cites himself along the lines of a fallen angel with "I'm doing the devil's work," which can be seen as God has betrayed them now and he must ask the devil to save everyone instead. He's changed from a naive scholar to a man of fire and brimstone that will incite heresy to save the town. Finally, Elizabeth goes through what can only be defined as a roller coaster as she forsakes her morals of truthfulness for Jon and ends the play by accepting Jon's choices as his own and refuses to talk him out of it. He have his goodness now. God forbid I take it from him. The quote is portraying Elizabeth's understanding as a wife and even acceptance of Jon's actions at the beginning. She was confused on how to react to Jon, but at the end she is quite stasis on how she feels, even if it means she rebels against what everyone else wants. Same for most to all characters we've discussed so far. 𝓑𝓭𝓼's use of rebellion is along the same lines of the Crucible and how character motivations and how they change, and in result in how they view and treat the world around them. All characters view themselves differently from the result of their motivations and changes inside them. The main character, Kasuga, starts off as an angsty teenager where he holds himself to a high degree and everyone else lower than him because he reads books no one has ever heard of. This is shown through the quote, "How many people in this town understand Baudelaire?" Baudelaire not only represents how Kasuga's teenage temptations and rebellion has taken over his life, but also acts as a crutch for him. Towards the end of the first book, Kasuga finally admits that he's not special. "I don't understand Baudelaire or the Flowers of Evil, I'm just getting high off of reading it." The climax of Kasuga's first character arc engraves that idea that you're not special and that's okay, which goes against what most of society ends up telling us, thus solidifying his rebellion. Similarly, Nakamura and Seiki's motivations and changes link and connect with this idea of rebellion in different ways. For Seiki, at the beginning she is defined as a pure innocence and a beauty, which only gets challenged. Kasuga defines Seiki as my muse, my femme fatale, which he is saying that she is incapable of being corrupt or perverted in either a positive or negative light. However, this isn't true. For the first book, she seems to escape that title of muse and seems to embrace her perversion as she confides in Nakamura. "I told Kasuga for you. You want to have sex with him." Seiki's motivations change from pleasing the crowd to more pleasing himself. Lastly, Nakamura's motivations and change is immensely subtle through being happy that Kasuga is taking off his mask and embracing his inner pervert. He would usually hide it from others, but now he seems to embrace chaos in this quote. Let it all out. Turn this classroom into a sea of shitbugs." This quote is in relation to after Kasuga and Nakamura have just vandalized a classroom and wrote Kasuga's confession of being Seiki's stalker. The repetition of the word shitbugs refers to how fake people are, where she wants to reveal people for who they are. Afterwards, her motivations seem to not really differ from that point, but rather intensify, which incites her change of becoming bolder and more daring, forcing Kasuga to skip town with her on the bike. After Kasuga asks why they left, she simply replies with, "Because we're pervs." Pervs is used as another motif for being real or not fake. Nakamura's motivations intensify and incite change in the characters and how they view the world. Relating the Crucible to 𝓑𝓭𝓼 is a little challenging, but their themes of rebellion and negative and positive perversion is undoubtedly connected. As Kasuga and Seiki connect heavily to Jon and Elizabeth, Jon and Kasuga both having this immense shame because of their guilt, where Elizabeth and Seiki take on this almost feminist persona and letting their man decide what is best for himself. Nakamura and Abigail are connected by the hip as they both want someone or something they can't have. They run away from their problems, and they manipulate the characters through any means. This video is meant to show through evidence how the Crucible and 𝓑𝓭𝓼 displays their stories. And the Crucible does this through its form as a play to make the audience connect with human nature, while the themes of rebellion makes the audience realize the insights of a character's change. Motifs are often used for a similar reason with how the court acts as a place of motivation and change for the characters. We can't also forget how the yellow bird in Act 4 signifies how the court gives certain characters freedom to run rampant. Aku no Hana has a very unique form where it's a manga which tells a story which is done effectively due to the independence with only one person doing all the producing, which gives the author of the piece this unique chance to show us motivations and how the characters change, with motifs of the evil flower with an eye to show not only guilt but temptation, whether that may be people that influence us like Abigail and Nakamura, or a town like Salem or the Gunmai prefecture that incites or motivates us to become different versions of ourselves. Our motivations will undoubtedly shift and change like sands of a desert, because that's what humans do best. It's in the best interest of an author to make their works incite change through our motivations, through us as people, and through our stories.